to the Geula Mamas show. I'm Sylvie Goodman. I am a midwife, mommy, hello, and founder of the Geula Mamas Club. And I'm here today with Yosefa Huber. How are you? And what did we say his name is?
Beckham is our doggy.
And Beckham, the doggy, which you can almost see. You're going to come up on the caption? Yeah? Okay. Yosefa, can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Sure. My name is Yosefa Huber. I have lived in Israel for 9 years. I have 5 children. I'm a professional U.S. accountant, which I started a business out of my home about 2.5 years ago while my baby was still home. And that got me, I became very reliant on baby carriers, which is why we're talking today. I'm originally from Florida.
So we're not going to be talking about accounting today.
No.
We're going to be talking about baby carriers. Now, I myself, I have some back problems, and I invented my own baby carrier a number of years ago when my youngest was born, about almost 9 years ago, 8.5 years ago. It was called Chibuki, and I had to close it because I wanted it to be a cottage industry, and I wasn't able to get the special fabrics that I needed to make that particular baby carrier. So I would have had to make it into like some huge factory or shut it down. And I didn't want to sell it because it was like my heart, and I had my ladies doing it. So if anybody ever wants a big investment, you can always contact me and we could restart Chibuki. But because of Chibuki, I still have my Buki doll. Oh, this is Buki, the Chibuki doll. And today he's wearing some beautiful fashion donated by the Huber family. And he is a weighted doll. So when you try on a baby carrier, Yosefa, when you're going to teach us about these baby carriers with Buki, you should be able to tell how well it's holding the weight of the baby. Okay, so Buki's going to help us here. And we are going to dive right in and learn about baby carriers.
Okay.
Well, maybe actually before we start, why would we want to even talk about baby carrier, right?
Well, I can tell you how I got into baby carriers and a little bit about my journey with baby carriers, which I think a lot of people maybe can relate to. So, as I mentioned, I have 5 children. I am not, just to be clear, I'm not a professional baby carrier. I love baby wearing, but I'm not a professional. There are professional baby wearing experts and consultants in Israel and in most countries. So if you're interested, you can find one of them.
I don't happen to know any of them per se, but they do exist.
Yeah, I can even put you in touch with some.
Maybe we'll put that in the show notes.
Sure,
We can
yeah.
get some contact information.
Okay, great. So with my first, I got a hand-me-down Babywearing, which I thought, because I knew it was just about the most expensive thing on the market, so I figured it must be the best, and I was so happy with it just because I knew it was expensive. And I also was loaned a ring sling, like the sack kind that makes the baby's chin scrunch up, and we know now that they're not safe. If you have one tucked in a closet, it's not. They're not safe. They're and I'll show you to compare. So that's what I had with my first.
I'm going to interject.
There are some ring
sling
that's
and
you
there's also some safe ways to use a ring sling.
Yeah, but this one is like a bag. It has like elastic around the top edges. It really is a sack. It was a sack. I don't think they sell them anymore. And then when I had my fourth was about a year old, and a good friend of mine, Allison Marvin, she wraps her babies a lot, and she showed me how I could wrap my baby. And already he was a little big, and I didn't really get into it. I was a little overwhelmed. I thought the wraps were so cool, but I didn't know where to start. I would look to see what the options were to buy them, and I would just get so overwhelmed. I didn't know what size I needed and what fabrics I needed and things like that, and I didn't know where to start. So I did it. I never really got into it. I made my own stretchy wrap, and I never got further than that. But when I got pregnant with my baby, who's now 2.5, I knew that I really wanted to be carrying him. I knew it was important to me. I thought it was great, and I wanted to do it right from the beginning, and I did. I succeeded. I wanted to wear him most days a week so that my back would strengthen with him, and I wouldn't notice him as much getting bigger. And I still wear him, and he's 2.5. So yeah, it's really great. It's been really great, and I love it. He loves it, and we just get to walk around giving each other a hug, and talking and I can see him. And it's wonderful.
That's why I called my baby carriers Hibuki, because the way I was carrying, I was always able to give my baby a hug, and Hibuki in Hebrew means like a little hug. And so the way I got into it was, I have 6 children, Baruch Hashem. My mother had one of these old snugglies, and I knew how awful that was. I was never gonna do one of those.
My in-laws had that.
Yeah. And so I had my first, there was no baby carrying. With my second, no baby carrying. With my third, she, I had to keep her away from my second, who was a very rambunctious 1.5-year-old. So I did my own arm baby carrying, and I ended up injuring my wrists to the point they still have issues today, and they click and they do all kinds. They would lock up. I wouldn't be able to move them from overstraining my wrists.
People think that because they have back problems, that they can't baby wear, and it's quite the opposite. By having your baby fully supported, it's more like they're being taped to you than you're actually holding them. So you don't have to be holding these muscles. When you're holding your baby, you know, you don't even realize in the beginning, but you have to be tensing all these muscles. I'm not a physical therapist, but I know from experience. And
you also get your hips sort of to the side, right? You pull everything out. And I had back problems even as a teenager, so I really didn't think of baby wearing.
Right.
When I had my fourth, then I got one of those sack types that you were saying, but I had heard that there could be some danger, so I didn't use it all the time. I was very careful.
I used it as a nursing cover, I think.
I definitely used it as a nursing cover, and I also was driving a lot because I was also living in Florida at the time. I lived there for 3 years, so at the time I was in Florida, I was driving a lot, and I would pop him in so that I could get into the store, go out, put him in his car seat, and I'd like slide myself out without waking him up. And I could just use it for convenience, but I certainly wouldn't go for a walk like that or anything. And then when I had,
we'll see when I pull up the ring sling difference. Yeah.
So when I had baby number 5, I was already in Israel, and again, very little baby wearing. When I had 6, so 5 and 6, again, they're about a year apart. And I didn't want to have to also schlep a double stroller everywhere. I was doing a lot of buses. I was in a yeshiva outside Yerushalayim. And I would have the bus, you know, with the trunk underneath, and I needed to be able to fold up his stroller with one hand. And now I had a little baby also. A double stroller was like a nightmare to even think of. And I had then learned, also through midwifery and everything, I had learned a lot about the benefits of baby wearing and how the baby feels great and you feel great and you have that bonding relationship. So I had gotten from a friend one of the stretch wraps that you're seeing, and it just hurt my back. My husband could wear it. We went to the Kotel ones with it. I couldn't wear it. So I did a little more research. I was on Chofshat Leida. I was on maternity leave, and I found out about a Meitai wrap, and I just made one because I was kind of bored. I made one, and I was like, oh, I'm kind of onto something here. So I had my older daughter unstitch it, and I restitched it again, and I loved it even more. And then I went and bought some fabric, and I did it again, and that's sort of how my carrier, the Hibuki, was born. It was sort of like a fusion, like there's fusion cooking. It was a fusion wrap, but mostly based on a Meitai. And then I just wore her everywhere. And as you said, my back strengthened. She was happy. I could wear it on my front. I could wear it on my back. I could wear it on my side. I mostly liked my front. I could nurse in it. I would sit on the bus, and nobody would know that I was nursing. I had so much fun going everywhere, get on and off of buses. She wouldn't even notice. It was just like, it was almost like I sprouted wings and now I could fly free. So I'm passionate about it now.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, since we've been mentioning the ring sling, why don't we start with this? This is my collection of baby wraps. It might seem crazy or a little overwhelming to people who aren't quite into it. Don't judge. A lot of people have much bigger statues than me. It's like people say it's like you have different shoes for different days of the week. And I really love educating people, so I do have a couple extra just to loan out. So this is a ring sling. I actually do own 2. One is being loaned out. This is a heavier one. The brand is Natty Baby, and I had it converted. I had a very long wrap, woven wrap, converted to a ring sling by an Israeli company, Top up here in Haifa. And I got this only this summer as my toddler is getting bigger and I wanted to wear my toddler. So I can show you a couple ways that we wear this. So mine is already what they call threaded. And so you can see It goes through just like you might wear like a belt, you go through the rings. And if you want more details on that, there's lots of tutorials on YouTube. But I'm starting with mine threaded.
So you look up ring sling?
Ring sling, yeah. Newborn ring sling, toddler ring sling, whatever interests you. Just off the top of my head, a couple good tutorial people are wrapping Rachel and there's a skinny redhead so who wraps, I forget her name right now. So I'm gonna put it, I like it to keep it on this shoulder. So you wanna have it so that the fabric is coming down. And again, I'm not an expert. I've just been wrapping for a couple of years with my one baby. And I watch enough YouTube. I've seen this done a few times. So I'm making sure that this is not bunched up, that it's not folded over, that it's all separated. And what I see people do is stick their elbow in here to make it the right size for the baby and then tighten it up. And the reason you want to tighten it the right amount before you start is because you want the ring slings as close to where you want them. If I have it really loose and the ring slings are here, then by the time I tighten it up, they're gonna end up down here and they might not be in a comfortable position. So I don't know how, I'm not used to, this is my first time wrapping Buki. So there you go. Okay, so I'm gonna hold him.
I think he's a boy today.
Boy today, okay, okay.
He's
So
not fine.
he's going, yeah, Z is going over my shoulder. And I get his legs in here, and then there's a couple ways we can do it. So for smaller babies, well, really tiny babies, so legs can stay in, but
right, you can kind of fold them up Indian style, and then hug
like
right,
froggy.
right,
So what
just
I'm
like when they
doing
were in the belly.
for this guy, he's bigger. I'm feeling for his knees, and I want his knees to be higher than his bum. He's not quite as flex. There you go. You see how his knees are higher than his bum? And I want what we call the bottom rail, which is like the bottom seam, to be going right under his knees, and I want some fabric between us. And I'm not real tall, and Buki's getting kind of tall. So I'm gonna show you how I tighten this, but then the next stage would be that I can keep him on my hip if I do want him in the front. So you see how loose this is? I wanna pull Buki toward me and tighten one rail at a time. I'm not gonna go through all the details of this because I think we wanna make this more of an overall. Yeah, we're not gonna show you all the doses of wrapping,
But like you
there's
said,
lots
they
of
can go
great-
on YouTube
yeah,
and get an
great YouTube
intense
videos.
tutorial of
And
any kind of.
And we have a wonderful Facebook group, Babywearing Israel Facebook group if you're in Israel. And really it's my favorite group on Facebook, not just because I'm obsessed with baby wear. I don't know which came first.
That's okay. There we go.
So I don't know which came first exactly, my love of the group or my love of baby wearing. Maybe they feed each other, but I just think it's such a wonderful group of people. It's really non-judgmental. It's really great. So if you want tips, you can even just like try wrap, take a picture of yourself, put it up there, say, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? And it's a great group.
So we'll put that in the show notes. Also, Babywearing Israel.
Yep,
Great.
baby wearing.
I wanted to comment. This position that Buki's in now, with his knees up, it's called a spread squat position, and it's really important. Like we were talking about the snuggly, that was more where you had, or even the baby bajorn. Also, you have a piece of fabric with your baby's legs straight down, and that fabric's a little bit pressing on the hips, and that's okay for sometimes, but you don't want your baby in that position all the time. This position where baby has the knees spread around mommy's waist is a much more natural position, and it's really good for the development of the baby's hips and legs. So the spread squat position.
And it's spread across my back, and I would normally tighten this up a lot more. And then, you know, there's a few different options for younger babies. You can give them a little neck support by tucking this underneath. You can wrap it around the rings. I don't like to do that because it just takes longer to get it on and off, but a lot of people like that. You know, if I want to sit down and nurse, I could do that. I can get him over to the side if I want to be doing something with my arm and I don't want him touching. My toddler, I wear him a lot on my hip, just to go quick up and down. So that's great. So I would recommend the ring sling, in my opinion, is a really, really great newborn option, and then really great again for toddler when they're starting to walk and you want them really quick up and down. It doesn't give you as much security in the legs. So when your baby's at the stage where they're straightening their legs a lot, call them leg straighteners, it doesn't give you that security so that you feel like they're going to pop out, and they could. So really great newborn where they're really little and you just like wrap them with the one single piece of fabric around you, and it's just so easy and snuggly.
Yeah, like you fold up their legs sort of, right? And just get them into that like newborn sort of position, and they fold right up.
And their back is arched in a very natural way. And then, you know, as I was saying again with toddlers, like I actually invest in this just for my toddler because he's walking for the most part. So I like this. Here, I can just show you. I'm not so self-conscious about wearing this around the park while my baby's running around the park. And then when it's time to go home, which he'll walk to the park, he doesn't want to come home, then I can grab him and get him in here.
That is one of the great things about Babywearing, right? Yeah. Because babies, toddlers, they want to come to mommy. They want to hug. They don't want to go home. Right. So you just skip that whole fight. You skip that whole battle.
And I even had Top make this with a little pocket so I can stick in a couple tissues, a folded diaper in here, my keys. So this is just, I use this lunch a lot. It's great. So moving on up. The next thing I can show you is a May-dye or May-tie, as it used to be called a lot more for various reasons. This one is made by naomi.rouach, made in Israel. And I think this is really great from, I would say almost newborn to, I mean, you can keep wearing it till 2, 3. I still use it, but I don't think it's the best for like once they're 2. I just, you know, as far as the ideal, in my opinion, only in my opinion, not safety or anything, in my opinion, this is one of the ideal carriers for like that first year. I just find it every time I put it on, I'm like, wow, that's so snuggly. It just feels like so smooth and snuggly. So I can show you one way to wear this. So you can tie it around your back, and depending on how big your baby is, you can do, it's very flexible, so you can do different things with it. If your baby's really tiny, but there are still legs out, you can tie, you can put like a little tie here to make it, you want it to be exactly like the width of their knees, from knee to knee. So you don't want pressure on their knees. You want it to be small enough that their knees aren't sticking out. You want their knees to be flopping gently. And then if they're really little, also I was saying you can roll it up so that the back is just hitting like around the back of their neck and not all the way onto their head. But Buki is pretty big, so I'm putting it for him right around my hips, my waist. You can tie a bow or double knot, and there, okay. Oh. Striding his legs here. And of course, I'm always holding him with one hand. So I throw one over that back.
What you can do also when they're newborns is, again, you can fold them up just like we did with the ring sling. So you don't have to worry about their legs. Just tuck them all up, make it a little smaller, and wrap them onto you.
So one trick that I do when I'm crossing in my back is I only grab the seam that's closest to my neck, and that'll keep it from twisting. If I grab the whole thing, I might twist it when it comes around. So I grab only the one seam. I'm gonna go underneath and just give it a little tug to now that I have this side, I can switch hands. So I'm holding him with this arm, and I can grab the other side. Give it a nice little tug, and oops, this way. And this is something that I could do super quickly in 2 seconds. Like if I want to do it in 2 seconds, I don't even tighten it up so much. I just like grab it, I tighten the whole thing as fast as I can. I might like twist it here and then just tie it in the back. But let's say I'm going to go for like a 1 hour, 2 hour hike. Then I'm going to take the time. So I don't want to make it seem more complicated than it is, but the more time you take to really make sure that it's all smoothed out and spread out, the more supportive it's going to be.
I would put Buki's arms up over here, right? And then you pick up the tushy, and then you can just tighten. This is what because it's so similar to the chibuki, I got really, really fast and really good at this.
So I'm going to poke it in a little bit so that I can.
And then what I like to do is cross under the bum and give another supportive twist.
I like to really make sure that each band, like each seam is nice and snug. And then I actually like to spread it across the bottom.
Yeah. I would spread it and open it and then and give it another boost.
So I like to really spread it out. Ibuki's bum is not shaped quite as the same as my baby. The arms would be out, but I think your baby will probably do different things. So, like that. But there's other things
you can get so fast and so smooth at this with just a little bit.
You can spread it out a lot more. If you don't have time to spread it out, you can just do like a twist here and then go under like that. And then this can also be, and I would double knot it in the back. And then this can also be worn on the back.
And because, as you said, the baby's like literally taped onto you, your centers of gravity are so close to each other that you almost don't feel their weight at all.
Right.
Especially if you start wrapping, as Yosefa said, from when they're little. You just get
as they get bigger, most people start wearing them on the back. Plus, the baby can see out over your shoulder a little more. There's a few ways to get the baby up on your back. I usually just toss them up there, but for safety's sake, I'll demonstrate what we call hip scooch. And this, you see, he's still tied. This is one way. I'm not very practiced in it because I don't do it, but this is one way I see people do it, is that you can, let's see, what do we got here? You can keep him in the sling and like kind of use this to support him and pull him up there. I like to get my baby really high, and I find the best way to do that is to really just toss him up on my like over my shoulder. You get you want to have it tied like around the bottom of your rib cage, a little bit like on your rib cage.
It's really good if you're hiking or if you're trying to cook for Shabbos. Really, really useful.
So he's going to be able to see out over there. When he gets bigger, he'll have his arms out maybe. And there's a few different things you can do. There's more than a few different ways that you can tie this off. But one way is you would go over his legs and then under his legs. So that makes him a lot more secure. And then I could tie on the waist, or I can go under the straps if I want to keep them from falling off me a little more.
But Hibuki, because it was a different sort of wrap, so we could actually crisscross, but you'd open the whole thing, so it looked like you had a whole shirt on.
Okay.
And it also gave a little bit more support, but same idea.
For his weight, I could easily have him like this for a few hours. How much does Buki weigh?
I think he's supposed to be 9 kilo.
Like
It feels heavier because it's dead weight, you know. But I think that he was made to be 9 kilo. So yeah.
The real fancy stuff comes when your baby falls asleep and you try to get them into their crib or something while they're still sleeping. Then you get good at it. So my baby's big enough that I can just lower him right off my back and he'll land on his feet.
So nice.
So that is a May-dye, a tie carrier. There's one made by Infantino that is very popular and very inexpensive. It is a nice way to start, and it's a nice gift. But if you really are into baby wearing, there's some better options that aren't much more expensive. For example, this is a Baby Sabi from. It's the same style baby carrier. It's a Baby Sabi. It's made in Thailand, and it's a great carrier for, from maybe a couple months old minimum, because it's kind of a bigger carrier, a couple months old to a couple of years at least, and they make a toddler size too. So that's a good option. So another option is what we call a soft structure carrier, which is abbreviated SSC, and this also can be worn on the front or back. So this brand that I'm wearing right now is called a Kinder Pack. Tula and Ergo are a couple other common options. Lila Baby is also considered a soft structure carrier. And this one has real cushy padded straps.
What was this company again?
Kinder Pack is the brand. I can show if it focuses or not. We can link to it. This is a Kinder Pack with what they call cool knit. And it comes with a hood, which is tucked in here. And it clips in the back. I would clip that in the back if I was going anywhere. So it's a great option. I would say one of the number one downsides, in my opinion, of this over the other ones, or if you're sharing a carrier with your spouse, because you have to readjust it for everything, for front, for back, for man, woman, whatever, you're generally readjusting it, where the ties, it just ties. It ties wherever it lands.
Some people I know are just in general people who are not so good at tying. You know, I have friends who say, I can't tie my tichel, I'm just not good to that. And if you're the only one using it and you're afraid of tying, it scares you for whatever reason, this could be an absolutely good option then. Right?
Yeah. I think men in general also tend to prefer them. I don't know if personally I would feel like I needed a soft structure carrier, except it's one of my husband prefers it. So if we're going on a trip and I can only take one carrier, which I try to avoid any trips where I can only take one carrier, but this would be something that we might want to take. I would say if my baby falls asleep, I feel like it's not quite as supportive and cozy. I don't have quite as many options.
You don't have any extra straps around, around his head.
I have a few. I have less options. I guess with some of the other things that I'll show, there are just a few more options where this is, but it's great. It's sturdy. It's secure feeling without having to remember to go under here, over here. It's as long as you have it.
It's also going to be much more difficult to nurse in.
Yeah,
right? Like if you have a ring sling or you have the tie, so you have extra fabric, you can kind of
some people I think this is their favorite. Actually, I've heard people say that this is their favorite. So I would loosen it here, and then sort of jiggle. Actually, no, I would loosen it back here, so it goes down to my hips, and then I would, could be nursing like this. And especially with the hood, you might not even notice.
Oh, because it does have a hood.
It does have a hood.
Oh,
some people don't
good,
care.
yeah.
I mean, anything, we're saying like we can nurse without anybody noticing. Not that that's, if you don't mind, that's really fine too. And with any of these carriers, if you do know you're gonna wanna nurse, you might wanna pull your shirt up a little bit before you put the waist part on. Right. Or if you have 2 layers, you could keep the bottom layer down and the top layer, you could jiggle up a little bit so you're ready to go. So,
I was in Jamaica for midwifery training years ago, and nursing was completely normal there. There was a lady who was like a wet nurse. We were driving by up on the front porch, completely normal. But in Israel, America, Western society, it's considered not quite something you want to show sometimes. So I was once at the hotel, and my husband were at like the tunnel tours. And my husband said, "Oh, the baby's sleeping. It's so cute." I'm like, "Yeah," because like underneath that blanket, that was not exactly what was going on.
Right. Or they say, "Oh, you're suffocating your baby," right? Oh, she can't breathe in there, and then they try to help you and see you're exposed. Okay, so this is sometimes I actually get help with this. I have to admit.
So this is the same carrier on your back.
This is the same carrier. It's on my back. I would normally be doing this in front of a mirror, or I'm not that.
But that definitely is easy. So it's just like put
it
on
is.
and get going.
And the other thing that is good to think about is that different women mostly, they find that certain carriers don't flatter them. So this just having the chest strap, some women find this a little bit more flattering than some of the other waisting style, or less flattering. So that is a consideration. It's funny to think about that, because you would think it's mostly about the supportive and the comfort, but the way that you're built, you might consider what's flattering for you, what's not.
So it could be worth going to one of the professional baby carrying experts where they do have different ones that you can try on, see how you look.
Or a baby wearing meetup.
A meetup.
A meetup is great. We're having a meetup at my house actually.
That's
in
so
Haifa
cool.
in a couple days. So I want to get them as high as possible. It's like
so
a
the baby
physics
wearing
thing.
meetups, you would find out about like on this Facebook group that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of your audience is in Israel, but there's groups everywhere. And if there's not one near you, start one, make one. But you don't even have to be an expert or obsessive to have people over to baby wrap with you. You don't even have to have baby carriers. You live in a place
they
where
can
people
all
wanna
bring
come.
theirs.
Exactly.
And you can try them on.
Exactly. You can say, I need help. And even if you don't have more than one other person for a meetup, if you're new to this and you're interested in it, there are so many people that would be happy to help you. Really, really, pretty much wherever you live, you can say, I'm having trouble, or I want to try carriers. People will say, like, I want to help you. I'm in this
Like
area. Can you come here?
when I was doing Chibuki, so that was, what did I say, almost 9 years ago. And it was pretty unusual to see women in Israel doing baby wrapping, especially more religious women. And I was going into some of the more Haredi areas with Chibuki. And I'm so happy because now I go to the same areas sometimes and I see women using carriers and I feel like, oh, I was a little bit of a part of that, you know? It's so nice. It's just so wonderful, especially if you have babies that are close together. It's just,
yeah, I don't know how I did it without it. I mean, my fourth would only sleep on me for his entire first year of life. And I was just stuck sitting. I had no idea.
Yeah, also my fourth, everyone called him my sticker because he was stuck on me. And like I said, I knew a little bit about, you know, the sack type carrier, but I really
So
know
with back carrying, a few things that we're looking at. So people that are really experienced, they will put much younger babies on their backs in woven wraps, not a soft structure carrier like this. If you're less experienced, I think the general rule of thumb is when your baby's sitting up by themselves, that's really a good time to start. Before that, talk to an expert. But when they're sitting up by themselves, that's, you know, then they have that head control and trunk control. That's a good time to start thinking about.
Also, if you have someone home with you that can like put the baby, spot you, get them all wrapped up, make sure everything's safe. You can at least, if once everything's set up, at least for an hour, so you can cook something, cook a meal, have something.
Yeah, that's when I started back carrying also is just at home when I can peek in the mirror once in a while and stuff. Because it does, you might not be able to see your little baby so clearly, so it
a mirror is also helpful. Yeah. Just grab a mirror and take a look.
But it's very similar rules of thumb safety wise. We're still having the knees above the bum and the knees shouldn't be blocked, so they should be able to hang freely. You should be able to hear your baby breathing. So whether they're here or they're in your back, if you can't see them breathing, actually, like you would want to be able to see your baby breathing when they're on the front, you want them high enough where you can hear their breathing and hopefully maybe even feel their breathing on the back of your neck. So you want that proximity. If you can't, then they're probably too low down. So you want to try to get them up much higher on your back.
And the same thing for a newborn. Somebody, you could fold them up like that little, you know, new sweet pea style, have someone help you wrap them all up, make sure their, you know, head is totally fine, their head is supported.
I would sit with an expert for, right? I don't know. I would get some expert help if you're looking.
But an expert's not living with you. Maybe going for a training.
Newborn, yeah.
Okay, so. I mean, I actually helped someone wrap in the hospital. And it was really fun because you're starting right away from the beginning. It's really great.
So
what do we have next?
Okay. Well, I also want to mention, you know, something you said, a stretchy wrap. That's something that I don't have. I borrowed one. They're great, you know, just because they're very inexpensive. And us obsessive baby wearers aren't using them that much doesn't mean that they're not a very good tool. They're a really good tool for the beginning stages. They're a great tool for beginning baby carrier, like people who aren't experts. They can be really helpful, and they're inexpensive, as I said. So they're great. As your baby gets heavier, the stretch just isn't supportive, and you need the support of something that's not stretchy. So if you're continuing to wear your baby, I mean, I know people use stretchies past 7 months, but if you really want to be into baby carrying,
because
like
as tight as you get it, you get your baby wrapped all tight, but then you take a step and the baby just bounces with every step and it becomes really heavy.
So I think, you know, if you like the stretchy wrap, you're probably gonna like baby carrying, and at least by like 3 months, you should start being aware of what's out there. Maybe go to a meetup, maybe try a friend's carrier and see what else you might like to start to replace the stretch with something more supportive.
If someone can be comfortable with a stretchy wrap, they can probably be comfortable with anything. They probably have really strong back
People
muscles.
say they love the stretchy, and then once they feel something that's not stretchy, they say, "Oh wow, now I see it." So try it. So the reason a stretchy is great though is because it's stretchy. You can tie it without your baby in it. So you don't need that confidence. You can tie it while somebody's holding your baby and get it all right, hopefully right, and then slide your baby in it. So I just want to mention that because I see a lot of really poorly worn stretchies.
Oh, with it all twizzled
They're
up.
twisted up and they're not, Okay, so what are a few things that you want to be looking at? First of all, when you put it on, they say it should fit like a t-shirt. Don't leave room for your baby. It's stretchy. It's meant to stretch around your baby, especially your little baby. It should fit snugly, like a t-shirt. Or for newborns, even tighter. I mean, it should fit snug. You squeeze your baby in, as long as you can breathe. Your baby can breathe. So make it snug to start with. Have it all spread out. You know, they're really wide, and I know the directions say like fold it in half for a lot of them, but don't do more than that. Fold it in half. Have it stretched out over your shoulders. Stretch it out completely over your back in a big wide X. I see a lot of them that are all twisted and they're all saggy, and it's just it's just not good. The other thing with the stretchies, and really any carrier, these like 360s and things like that, a little bit of a pet peeve of mine, just because the marketers tell you that it can be used 3 different ways, 100 different ways, don't feel like you need to get all those ways out of it. They're not all that supportive. They're not all comfortable, and they're not all even 100% safe depending on how you use them. So, you know, just because it says you can use your baby outward facing or in a cradle or things like that, it's not ideal.
I would like to say something about outward facing, because this is a pet peeve of mine, okay? Babies should, as much as possible, be worn inward facing. I'm gonna take Buki and show you, okay? You have your baby inward facing as much as you can. Why is that? People all the time say, oh, the baby's bored, the baby wants to see, okay? When your baby's sitting outward and they're in a stroller, if they're overwhelmed, overstimulated, they can generally tuck into the sort of the side of the stroller and turn the world off just that little bit. When you're wearing your baby on your front, I see this all the time, and they've got some sort of a wrap, which is usually not wrapped very well, whatever it may be, right? Babies coming at the world, you're walking, the world is rushing at them, and there is no way to turn that off. It leads to overstimulation. It is not good for the little brains.
And
so,
the physics, it's harder on the back too.
There are motions.
It's harder on the carriers, the wearers.
It's harder on your back for sure, because your
that's
center of gravity is off 100%. When your baby's looking towards you, they can turn their head this way, they can turn their head this way, you can interact with each other, they can snuggle down. They are in that control of their stimulation. Makes a world of a difference. Sometimes my little one, my daughter, would go through a small stage, maybe at 7 months or so, where I'd put her on and she'd arch herself back and go like this. She wanted to see more. So that I knew that at that moment, she really wanted to see the world. I'd turn her around, I'd wrap her up the same way, either with her legs out or with her legs curled up like this, for 15 minutes, for 20 minutes. Once she settled down, I turn her around, or even for that particular outing. But each time, I'd always start her off facing me. That stage passed, and that was it. It was over. With maybe like 3 weeks that she'd do that a little bit.
I also see a lot of people when they're looking for a baby carrier, they're specifically looking for something that can go outward facing also. And I think it might not be worth it. I'm not saying it's wrong. Maybe you do want to go to the zoo and you want your baby to be outward facing a little, but for the most part, I don't think that should be the main consideration.
When you're at the zoo, you're at the zoo, right? You're looking at the elephants, right? Your baby's here, and you say, look at the elephant. Maybe you have to turn a tiny bit to the side, and you look at the elephants, right? Your baby can see everything facing you.
And by the time they're bigger, you can't, they're just so heavy, outward facing, it's not worth it. So for that small amount of time, of 10 minutes a day or less that they're forward facing, I don't think it's worth going out of your way to find that one baby carrier that's probably more expensive, might not be as comfortable, just so your baby can face out.
Much harder, like you said, your center of gravity is off, much more difficult for you to hold.
This is,
would it be bozo?
This is a woven wrap. So I think rebozo usually refers to a pretty short wrap, like
maybe
a pretty short wrap. And this is a woven wrap. All wraps that are not stretchy and just a long piece of fabric, we call them woven wraps. And then there's different sizes, and the sizes don't exactly match how many meters or their yards it is. So this is a size 6, which is a pretty good standard beginner size for an average size person. And I will show you something you can do with it. This one is hand woven. It's made by Avigail. You don't have to start with a hand woven. I just did because I got a good deal on it, sort of, and I really like the colors, and I wanted to only have one wrap. I didn't want to be like an obsessive baby wearer with 100 wraps, so I wanted to spend my money on my one good wrap.
It didn't work out for you.
So I got like one more. It's I have one, and then I have a really inexpensive wrap that's made from a tablecloth, but it's like actually like it's a wrap. But that I use as a loaner. It's being loaned out right now. So I have a couple sizes.
So if you're in the Haifa area, it seems like we have a wrap goma.
I would call a wrap goma. If you want to try a wrap, there is the Babywearing Israel Lending Library is a great option. You must be, number 1, a member of the Babywearing Israel Facebook group. Number 2, you have to be in Israel. You can't remove the wraps from Israel. And then you join also the Babywearing Israel Lending Library Facebook group, and then there's lots of great wraps that you can try.
Nice.
For newborns, there's stretchy wraps and ring slings that you can borrow for longer extended period of time for a very small donation, and then the rest is free except for the cost of shipping it to the next person in line. It's not a physical library, it's just the wraps move around, so you get it and then you have to ship it to the next person. So
that's beautiful.
So this is, I don't loan this one out. This I hope to keep for a very long time. It's 100% cotton, and it was designed in a way that is meant for learning. So it has sort of the way that the colors change, it makes it easier to learn. So I'm gonna do something that's very similar to what you would do with the stretchy, and it's a great first wrap. It's called a front wrap cross carry. So I put it over my belly. I cross it in the back the same way where I'm only grabbing the top rail so that it doesn't get all twisted. And I'm going to pull it over my shoulders. So now I have it here, also not twisted. It's like a kimono. But instead, usually with the stretchy, put your shirt down if you care about those things. With the stretchy, you would usually put these inside here, but with this you're not.
With a stretchy wrap.
With a stretchy wrap, exactly, with a stretchy wrap,
wrap.
Right, with a long stretchy wrap. I'm not talking about like baby katan and things that are fitted. There are a lot of options, which we had mentioned, for what they call fitted or pre-tied, things that are sewn in a specific way. My opinion on those is that most people have the wrong size, and the retail value is much lower because you have to have your specific size, and then you would have to sell it to somebody who also needs that specific size, and you and your husband or you and your partner can't always share. So I don't think it's worth it personally, but if you can borrow the size you need or get it secondhand, and it's really your size,
like, for example,
like a baby
katan,
a baby katan, the stretchies that are already like, or the loopix.
Oh, the ones that loop. Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
where it's like a couple loops. I see, some people are really happy with them, but sometimes they're not any less confusing than just tying it yourself, and they're a little bit, you really do need the right size, and it has to be snug.
Look, it's gonna be, when you're tying yourself, it's gonna be a little bit difficult in the beginning, and you're gonna watch a YouTube tutorial, or you're gonna go to a meetup, and you're gonna try it 10 times and 15 times, but at some point it's gonna be easy, like tying your shoes.
And if you have an older kid who can help you with YouTube, you start the YouTube video, you tell them pause, and while you're catching up, okay, start, pause. That's a great way to do it. So one of the reasons this is a great starting is because you see I've already done half of it without holding my baby. So you don't have to have quite as much confidence pulling it all around you while you're holding the baby. So I want to make sure I don't want it too loose to start, because I don't want to have to do too much work once I'm holding my baby. Okay, there you go. Oh, so I got it over my shoulder. I get the legs in. I'm leaning forward so that his bum falls into the like a pocket. So I got the bottom seam is under his knees, and then he kind of falls forward, and I pull it all the way up to his neck. And even with a toddler, if they'll let you, it's so much more supportive that you can get their arms in. And
That's beautiful.
while you're tightening it, you pull them a little bit close, and you don't want to let them go. And then, as I was saying, it's a learning wrap. So you see sort of each stripe. I want to be thinking about tightening each stripe separately. And so I can do this quicker, but if I'm going to wear him for any length of time, I want to take the time to do this. And I'm really not an expert in this. You can watch better videos online, but I can show you some of the different options. So here, again, you can spread it here and wrap it under here. There's another one for toddlers that I saw where you give it one twist this way, kind of like that. And
What does that do? It looks kind of nice.
Yeah, it looks nice. I think it's more supportive.
So essentially you make it into a tie, basically.
So then you're gonna want to you're gonna want to knot it in the back. If you're using a much shorter wrap, you can tie it right under their bums. I'm just doing a single wrap for now. The other thing you can do is while you're practicing, you can do like just a single in the back, and then you can keep tightening it. But especially when it's cooler, it's really nice if you can really give them those extra layers and the extra layers of support. And you see how now I have what we call slack here. So I would keep tightening this in different ways.
You lift up the bump and then you just pull the opposite strap and you can get it so tight.
Yeah, so you can see like with this one, if it's the blue that's too loose, I'm pulling the blue. If it's the green that's too loose, I pull the green. So that's why this is a great learning wrap. So this is one of many, many front carriers. There are side carriers. There's all different things.
This is very versatile.
Yeah.
It's like, if you can just get one carrier, it seems like a simple woven wrap.
So when I was looking to buy my one carrier way back when, and I saw they said that a woven wrap was the highest learning curve, but the most worth it in the end. And I have a bit of an artist in me, and so I also enjoy.
Well, if you can tie your shoes, if you can tie a tail, you can, braid a collar.
And I can
probably
showing. I can wiggle him down to nurse, and then also I can, if I want to have a little more coverage, I could cover him there.
Yeah, that's what I used to do when people get great. It's so good. You can just sit there quietly, nobody, and you can do it just as well when your baby wants to sleep. But cover their head, and they get all snuggly and they go to sleep. So you could be nursing, you could be putting the baby to sleep. Nobody has to know what you've decided to do that day.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of back. So this is sort of the other end I'm just showing you. So a lot of people find that as their baby gets older, they actually want a smaller wrap. And I also found that as well. When my baby was much smaller, he was falling asleep more on my back. I wanted more supportive, more layers. And then now that he really just wants to be up and down quickly, I have something that's much smaller. So what I might do, again, is like, we might go to the park and I could just like throw this over my neck or something, like a big scarf. And then
I would like even tie on the waist, maybe
you want. And then when I'm ready to go home and he's not, then I can just kind of grab him. So my baby would be running around and I would just throw this over his back. And crossing my arms. Watch YouTube videos and do this over a mattress if it's something you want to practice. And throw him up on my shoulder. I'm holding him.
Here, turn around so people can see what you're doing in the back.
I don't really know what I'm doing. So this is kind of a narrower wrap, but what I'm going to do in the front is hold it in my teeth. Wow.
toddlers who would normally be running away from you, they usually giggle and get such a kick out of this, right?
Another tip is if your baby likes looking in the mirror.
Hey, wait, turn around, turn backwards so you can see that. This is the magic happening.
Over the legs and under the legs. And then this is just really quick.
Buki's arms are stuck in there because Buki's not actually.
My baby's arms are often stuck in there too.
Yeah, but usually they're kind of like moving around.
Yeah. My baby's arms get stuck in there too.
Oh, beautiful. Look at that.
Yeah. So
Well done.
this one is made by Most. It's called Double Face Jack. Very, very soft, pretty thin. I wouldn't want to be with just this for like a long hike, but it's great for just
Right, because you don't have enough to go around to get that second layer of support.
Right. It's a thinner wrap, but so different wraps for
So
different
if you
purposes.
can only get the one wrap,
I don't
to
know.
roll them off.
I
No,
think
it
it's
seems-
something different.
I really do think the woven wrap could be the one wrap because you could get that baby into like a side, newborn. You could do almost any hold with the woven wrap if you can practice.
But my husband can't.
Your husband can't. Right.
The other thing is, when it's cold and rainy and muddy, a lot of people don't want a wrap that's long enough to drag.
Right.
So for that reason, you might want a shorter wrap. My husband likes this one. He calls it the jeans wrap. I specifically got a color that I thought that he could handle because he doesn't like anything that is slightly feminine. So this is often our go-to when we're sharing one wrap.
Well, that is why I based my hibuki off of the Meita. This is like the Meita design. Again, I did a fusion, but I did that design because for me, I also felt like this was the one wrap I wanted to have, but I wanted to have some other features that I could go with.
I'm a sucker for pockets. If I was planning to make my own, and I wanted to have
So originally I did have a pocket. I had a panel in between that was a pocket, but then I decided to take it out because with this one, I could so easily just stuff a diaper right in between the baby and the carrier that I figured it wasn't.
What I would do when I have the big wide cross across their bum, then I can use that as a pocket. And then also, sometimes I'll just, if it's not hot, I can put a diaper between me and the baby, and that'll hold it there. Or even between the baby and the wrap.
I had sewed a little ring on here and here so that you could have your keys on one of those little hooks and have it hanging because the keys you can't really stick in between you and the baby. That's not so comfortable. I wanted to talk for a moment about like what we see oftentimes with the Babywearing snuggly style, where it's pre-wrapped, the baby's in front of you usually, and their legs are down. It's so common because, personally, I think because those are really expensive. If it's expensive, it must be good, right? They're very well
marketed.
So I am not a fan. I'm not going to talk about any particular, company, but that particular style, I'm not a fan. Are you a fan?
Oh God, no. I borrowed a Babywearing one from a friend because I just wanted to see what all the hype was about. This is the Babywearing one is the one that is supposed to have more ergonomic options. I think it can go in the back.
Extra back support, blah, 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 blah.
Compared to the main guys, and I found it to be cumbersome and confusing, really. Like you think, I know coming from the Babywearing, these seem confusing. I think one of the reasons also people like it is because it has a really nice audible click to it. And they like hearing all those clicks and all the different things that show that you've got it on right. A mirror can help you with these options.
I think it's just because, like you said, it's very well marketed. It's very expensive. I mean, the one with the
and
extra back support.
The resale value is like nothing. So
when I was testing Hibuki, a friend of mine had a particular company, extremely expensive. It was something like almost 1,000 shekels, I think, and she was borrowing from her sister. And I gave her Hibuki. I said, just wear it for one day. And I just want to hear, I want a comparison, just to know where I'm holding with this thing that I'm in love with, right? Because I need it for me. And that was it. She said, I'm giving back that expensive carrier. I went all day instead of just doing, a quick shopping. She just left her baby on all day, in and out of stores, in and out of buses. Her back felt great. So, and that was really, again, you can get that with any Meita, with any of these woven wraps.
Some of these, their resale value. I mean, this one I even
Don't
bought new.
resell it. Save it for your grandchildren.
Oh God, I don't have space for that. But the resale value on these is very, very close to what I bought it for. And all my other ones are used. Everything else I have, I bought used. So, yeah.
And again,
which is like, it's like a car, you drive it off the lot and it's.
Right. Any carrier that you have your baby's legs down with that fabric in between, it seems to us it looks more natural because it looks like they're standing.
Right.
When your baby is in that spread squat position, it looks like their legs are too far apart. But if you imagine a child sitting on the floor, their legs are out splayed, right? Like Buki here.
Yeah, that's not comfortable either.
Pretty heavy. All right. So you have your baby, right? Your baby's gonna sit like this on the floor, and they're gonna be playing in front of them with
And
blocks.
you can just picture, like, if anyone's gone rock climbing and you have like that strap in your crotch, it's not as
Yeah.
comfortable.
Well, there's a big deal with hip dysplasia. I mean, I remember seeing an article saying, oh, baby carriers cause hip dysplasia. It's a whole big thing. That comes from that fabric pressing sideways. It's unnatural. It's not supposed to be.
There's a lot of things that that baby carriers have been accused of, because it's true that some baby carriers have caused problems. So be careful. I think one of my problems, my Hebrew's not great, so I don't have a great vocabulary to combat that. So when somebody says, oh, I heard babies died in that, God forbid, it's hard for me to say, no, mine is an ergonomic baby carrier. I can hear my baby breathing. I see my baby breathing. I see their airways are open.
What you were talking about in the beginning, what we all started with back in the old days, right? So you'd have a very small newborn baby.
Yeah, I can
And they'd
demonstrate.
Right.
It was a more like a sack. So the seams were like with elastic or something. So it really was like a bag that you would put your baby in. And honestly, when my baby was first born, my friend Allison, who I mentioned earlier, she showed up at the bris of my toddler with a baby sling for me to borrow. And my first instinct was to put him in it like, I guess like this would have been my instinct.
Whatever you're doing would probably be fine if it were a big baby like Buki is. We're talking about a very small newborn.
So I'm glad that she was there to demonstrate for me, but and even online, you see a lot of the carriers are shown in the sling hold. And even for nursing, it's just not, if you're sitting down, eating and you're just using the sling, that's fine. But you see how his chin, if he had much of a chin, would be on his chest. That's really the number one thing you're trying to avoid. And it's not comfortable for me either.
So I did have my baby kind of like that,
Yeah.
but again, it was wrapped, so their chin was upward, their whole body was supported.
I think the rule of thumb is you want to be able to get at least 2 fingers between the chin and the chest, something like that. The chin is resting on the chest, that's not good. You're supposed to have space between the chin and the chest, and ideally, you want them, even newborns, can be with their feet in this. And there's lots of YouTube videos that talk about all these things by actual experts. And their back is curled around, and you have them nice and snug and secure in this upright
The
position.
reason that I made Buki quite so big is because as we were testing out the Hibuki, everybody said, well, what about when my baby grows? What about, so we took a big baby. Can you, everybody says, oh, you can carry a newborn, but can you carry a 6-month-old? Can you carry a 9-month-old? Can you carry a 1-year-old? So that's what we wanted Buki to be, sort of that bigger baby design with the weight exactly proportioned to where baby's weight would be, Right, so when I started out, I was saying, so I had something like that, and for me, it was all the way down here. So baby was all covered up with fabric, all the way down here, and trying to get it close to my body. And basically, it was very hard to tell if my baby could breathe or not. And certain babies, chas v'shalom, it should never happen to us, but that's why, we won't go into the details, that is why some people think that they're dangerous, but they're not. If you, just like anything else, you can cook your supper with fire, you can, make your kids breakfast with fire. Fire should be used responsibly, right? That is amazing. We learned so much here. So before we get going, I could never ever finish up a show without giving presents away, because presents make me very happy. So, here we go. Here are my presents for the day. We have some Geula Mamas. I almost said Hibuki magnets because I'm thinking of my Hibuki project. So Yosefa, would you help me out? In this special mug, I hold the names of all of the lovely women on the Geula Mamas Club, in the Geula Mamas Club on Facebook, who is winning a Geula Mamas magnet today.
Nobody paid me to pull their name, I promise. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, Lilach Saperstein.
Lilach, that's so nice. I'm going to give Lilach a magnet that comes from our first big show with Ayelet Shwell. She was talking about voice, choice, power, and support. That if somebody feels they've had any sort of trauma, we were talking about birth trauma, but if any of those things are taken away from you, how you might feel, how you can go back, how you can change that in your imagination. This was so useful because even with my teenagers, we went back to some of the things that happened in high school, how they felt they had no voice, what their options could have been, how they could have reacted, and it was amazing how some of those traumatic quote unquote feelings just completely dissolved. It was amazing. It is brilliant. Now we have another magnet. So well done, Lila. Yay!
Chava Meira Ben Sion.
Chava, well done. What do we have for Chava? We have a Geula Mamas affirmation. It says, I am so precious. Hashem loves me more than I can ever imagine. And that is true. Hashem made each of us special with all the things that we are good at, all of our challenges, all the different things. But every minute to know how precious you are, how special. There's never been anyone like you before, and there will never be anyone like you again. So I want you to have a great day, and remember that you are loved, and I love you. Goodbye, everyone.